Dashboard is live. This is live. This first. Okay. Onko tämä mitään? Joo. Otellaanpa vähän aikaa, jos joku tulee. I open the phone. Viewers. Chat. Here. All right. At least I don't have a headache now. See. Discord seed. If I would get a confirmation from someone, it would be nice. Itch. Okay, I'll wait for a few minutes, then I start rambling. 28 is more much popular in Finnish YouTube, so ASMR, lots of I wonder why it recommends me those. Everything's ready here, so I skip the whole thing if no one comes. It would be quite awkward to ramble alone. I'll start. Hello, I am aspiring game developer Jan-Hugo Ruokojärvi. Because that's very mouthful for someone, I go by the name J.H. Reedlake, which is an English-fied name. I don't know, does it sound cool or anything? And I also go by the name Raivokas Magmanti, social media. So as I said, I'm a very aspiring game developer, but it has been a many year journey that I've been thinking how would I approach this journey. And I thought it would be quite nice to show you the first two projects, at least, what I have, what I've been part of in the past few years. So let's start with the first one, Kaamos, Polar Night. This was the 2019 summer game course. Oh, I should mention that I'm a student at the Lapland University of Applied Sciences, and I'm a fifth year student now, working on thesis. Not so exciting thing, but it's a game project still, in a way. So Kaamos was the first game project I was part of. Mirror Continent 1 course I was in, but I had to drop out because I lost interest. And I remember when we were making groups, it was very nerve-wracking because I was one of the people who threw a game idea on a digital platform, then people could then pick it up that are they interested in it. So I was I threw an idea that how about some more explorative Metroidvania, very that is set in Lapland in a fantasy world. I had very huge hopes for this bit, but it didn't go as planned. So I'll show you the trailer for it. It was 2019. See, that was the trailer for the Kaamos. So as I said, the project didn't go that well. So the team was me who did the game design part. And then I had two artists who did the artworks and assets for the game. And then I had two programmers with me, and one wanted to do animation. So at least I thought the course started well, but it took a turn for the worse because first of all the communication didn't work as planned, and I kept spamming ideas and questions for the WhatsApp because I was very motivated, and I sent lots of papers that I have drawn for different stage ideas and such. But the people were very not so great at answering back because I would ask something, hang there for many hours, and just wasn't that great. So the trailer showed it had two scenes, which which was pretty much what it had going for. The artist did few level assets, but then the main programmer got a burnout because he was in many other school activities that took his time and he got a burnout, so he didn't answer anything in 1 month. And that was pretty much what we got, a more summer scene and a winter scene with a monster in it. So it wasn't that great, honestly. Hmm. I didn't care for the course in the first place because this was before COVID. So the whole teaching part of the course were done live on Adobe Connect, which I honestly don't like that much. So we would sit there on the computer class and look at the whiteboard where the lecturer from other city was doing the lecture, giving the lecture, and we would follow what they would do. They taught us how Unity worked, and we used Unity 3D for this, and Blenders, Photoshop, Illustrators. Too, but the audio part was very ham-fisted. But yeah, it wasn't that great, honestly. It wasn't that great course, honestly, because as the summer was ending and course was nearing its end, I got really desperate and I didn't answer anything, and everyone started to blame each other. Like, you didn't answer anything, and I was like, well, I sent you so many messages here and there, and you took half a day to answer to it. So yeah, in the end, when the end presentations were on, there was only me and two of the artists there, and we showed the game, talked about it very quickly, and just left. We didn't talk to each other the whole day. But it was still a learning experience. I got to try out many different professional applications. Like I tried a little Blender, Illustrator. I liked very much, and what I did for this game was mostly the designing, like the puzzles and level design, because this was supposed to be very puzzle heavy Metroidvania. But it didn't work out that well in the end. So I actually like the style we went for, because it's quite hard to get exact style pinned down, because every artist has their own style. So I have to work out the idea to work with the style itself. But yeah, the greatest start for my game journey. Hi, Juicy. I'm doing a little showcase of past game projects here and giving a little lecture and what went wrong and such. Thanks for joining. I'm almost finishing with this first game. So I'll then post a VOD of this. So yeah, it was a learning experience. Probably I should have just quit the course midway through because nothing was working out for us. Actually, so one of the artists and the main programmer last summer when I was on the game course also. And I was like, yeah, apparently this year went better for all of us. So no hard feelings. They agreed the same. So that was chaos. Then we get to Lempi. This was last summer game course 2020. This time the whole course was held remotely and teachers did a little survey and formed the groups based on those. And I got a good group with me. So our group was me, who did the design and audio, and the trailers, like last summer. And we had 3 artists who agreed to do different things. Like one artist did the character models and cutscene art, and one did the level assets, and one did the UI and such. And we had 2 motivated programmers who did the bulk of the work. And I also got to program the audio. So this time we had a Unreal Engine as our game engine of choice. And we did a 2D game. So let's show that. This is a longer trailer that shows the story of it. And it's in Finnish. So I'll explain the story after that. And we were group 10.
Juhannusyönä kansa kokoontuu juhlimaan. Kaikki eivät kuitenkaan liity rientoihin. No mutta taika kuin taika. Kai joku noitakin on niitä kokeillut.
Äläs Lempi alas sohimaan ampiaispesää tikulla. Etkö ole kuullut, että ainakin 3 noitaa katosi? 2 sekosi ja 1 menetti voimansa lopullisesti niitä kokeiltuaan.
Mitä jos? Lempi ajattelee. Noita sisarten keskuudessa rakkaus on heikkoutta. Jos juhannusyönä katsoo kaivoon, näkee tulevan puolisonsa. Lempi ei voinut olla varma, oliko kaivosta heijastuva kuvajainen kuitenkin hän itse. Vaan kaivon reunapa petti ja Lempi humpsahti suoraan sen syvyyksiin. Kaivo oli pudottanut Lempin omituiseen paikkaan. Vaikka hän kuinka siristi silmiään, kaikki näytti valottomalta ja värittömältä. Myös tuntui oudon ontolta. Onneksi hän saisi sentään vedet kuivattua nopeasti tuliloitsullaan.
Mutta eihän tämä toimi.
No, syty nyt!
Voihan vinkula!
Lempi pohti, mitä hänelle oli tapahtunut. Kun rinnassa tuntui oudolta, aivan kuin sydän ei olisi sykkinyt ensinkään. Jokin tuntui väärältä.
That was Lempi. ID protection once, but okay. So Lempi was supposed to be a puzzle platformer set in Lapland. Yeah, I have a bit fascination to Lapland and fantasy. Always been a bit of my dream. So the story, oh yeah, it was. And thanks, Lillian, and thanks for joining. So Lempi was a story of a witch named Lempi, who was a very lovesick witch. And on the midsummer night, she decides to try love magic, which is or love spells, which are mostly bogus magic, at least the witches think that the common folk do. But Lempi decides to try it. And the spell in question is, if you look at the mirror on the midsummer night, you see your future love. But in the wall of the well breaks up and she falls down the well into another world. And then she realizes that she can't do any magic. She haps it, tries to dry herself up, but nothing works. And then she realizes that her heart has broken because the magic didn't work. We got the idea for the story because a story goes that many people on the game courses usually, at least one group does a very midsummer game where you get drunk and such. So we decided to do more folklore inspired story. And yeah. And I did the cutscene. But one of the artists did the artwork because I can't draw for shit. So yeah, Lempi was I was happy with the project, what we could do, because everyone was very motivated. And at least compared to Unity, I liked using Unreal Engine more. Because Unreal Engine has this visual programming language called Blueprints, which pretty much executes as C++ code. So it was more easier for me to understand how to program and such. And then I was forced to do the audio part, like sound effects and such. So it was more easier for me to look at the tutorials from the internet and apply it to our project. And again, I did most of the puzzle and level design here with some help from one artist who did the environments. It was a bit weird to do a 2D game on an Unreal Engine, which is made for 3D games, but it kind of works. But there was still, it was a bit limited on that front. And probably the biggest gripe I had with Unreal Engine, even though this was a 2D game, it got really hard to run for my computer on the engine. I ran out of memory. So this happened towards the end when I was trying to film the gameplay, and I tried it on the engine, but when I tried to open it in a separate window, I would run out of memory. So and for some reason I couldn't compile the game in an exe file to open it for some reason. So I had always asked for one of the programmers to do it and send sent the current game file for me. So yeah, I was very happy with this game in the end. And of course, Lempi is a Finnish name for a woman. And because this was a love story and Lempi means some form of love or closeness, so it was very corny name. But everyone in the end liked it. So we went with the name Lempi. Hi Saltavia. Thanks for joining and follow. So I liked the course in the end because it was remotely done, and every teacher had done video tutorials that they compiled, and everyone could look for tutorials that were most relevant for them. So I mostly look at how to use Unreal Engine and how to do the audio, but the audio tutorials were shit. So I had to look so many things for myself. I would love to show Unreal Engine how it looked on the engine, but I don't think the computer wouldn't like it if I stream and open the engine because it's a damn heavy engine too for my computer. Yeah. But if you have the horsepower, you can always try it for yourself. It's free like Unity. And because it works on blueprints. So it may be easier for a beginner to understand. I've been rambling for quite a while, so does anyone have any questions now before we move to the most recent project that actually got published? Yeah, we actually had plans for this to flesh out this game more and maybe publish it on itch.io, but I haven't heard anyone since the fall of 2020. And I even made some plans for it. But yeah, we separated as good friends. 2020. That sure was a year. And one of my best summers and lowest. Well, I was quite in bad shape mentally during the autumn, winter time, but then it was, I don't know what month was it when I saw one game developer I follow on Twitter with a game jam held by Adventure X. It was a adventure and narrative game conference in UK, but because of COVID, it got cancelled, and instead they held a game jam. And here it is. And this was a joint project between me and Lexa, also known as Saltavia. So many of the games on the Adventure X jam were point and click adventures, which I very much like. But I wanted to do a narrative game, but I wasn't quite sure how to approach this. But good thing I had watched one video course about game design, and it was by Brenda Romero. And she mentioned Twine. I was like, Twine, what is that? Interactive fiction. So I was like, this is simple to use, so I'll write a story about something. And oh well, that was quite the 2 weeks. So I have the Twine open here. Probably the biggest mistake I did, I started the story from up here and went down because it was annoying to scroll. Maybe I should have come to right. It's easier to see all the branches. And basically, Twine works as HTML-based engine where you would write interactive stories. You could get very fancy with it, but because I'm very limited on programming front, so I just went with simple story, image here, and there, like in these brackets, there's a link to the next box. And of course, you could always add multiple branches, but I decided to go very simple with this. I think this was probably one of the longest games in the end in the Game Jam apply when I looked at other Game Jam games. I thought that this would take about 30 minutes to finish if you read it with thought. So as you can see, it's a browser-based game. Opens like this. And it was named Kaiho, which is a Finnish word for longing for someone. The story was that there's a guy named Renne who was expressing his feelings to people, especially those who he likes and loves. And he thought he had something wrong with him, so he decides to go for a doctor to see it. And I guess I was inspired by Moon a bit because he goes inside a machine that he goes back in time in his memories to the vocational school days. And he had a huge crush on one girl, but at the time he wasn't so sure did he like him or not, or her. So sorry. And the story, I did this on Twine 2.3.9. Actually, I have it open here. This was the latest version at the time, so I think some of the tutorials on the internet that showed that are on the internet are for Twine 1.1, but this was Twine 2 version 2, and if I open another Twine, if this opens anything, I went with the default formatting language, which was Harlow, but I went with Harlow 3.1.0 because I didn't want to try anything else, but I heard that Sugar Cube is also popular option, but a bit more complicated. So I haven't heard much about Chapbook or Snowman, but it's either Harloff or Sugar Cube. So the story of Kaiho was, I guess it was slightly self-inserty in a sense. So our protagonist goes back in time in memories and tries to relive those memories. And in the end, I decided at the end that the player can choose what the protagonist does when he contacts the old love many years later. Does he contact or not? The player can decide is it worth it or not. Okay, no worries. Yeah, in the end, I was quite satisfied. I don't know, many people didn't give much feedback about this, but those who said it was a nice story, and I think one person said that he didn't contact the old love. But then I watched one of the Adventure X staff members play this on stream, and I wanted to die out of embarrassment. But she did contact the old love at the end. But so you can find this on itch.io when you jhv.itch.io/Kaiho if you want to experience this for yourself. This was ended up being my first story or game. How would I say this? This is a game. It's an interactive fiction, so you can debate is it a game or not. So I got something published, at least. So I thought this was a good kickstart for the career. If this ever is a career, the Gaming Jam theme was a good time, and I went with the best idea. First idea is the best idea. And I thought about reminiscing good old times. And this was my first time writing any fiction in many years. I used to write quite a bit, and I liked writing. I always yeah, exactly. Yeah, it was quite simple game. I had one project around that time that was very multiple branches and such, but it got very awful to manage. So yeah, I think we're working on this slowly, adding more images with Lexa. So in that case, this is still in development, but I won't promise anything soon. Mostly this is for portfolio purposes. It seems I have still time left. No, that. So I'll show quickly what I've been working on. So after Kaiho, I was like, I want to do narrative games or stories in an interactive form. So then I started thinking, like, is there anything else that could follow this format? And I was like, visual novels. It's a interesting genre. I'm I'm quite fascinated by the idea of visual novel, but I guess I haven't read many of them in the end, but many of them are very anime inspired and some of the characters are a bit for me in the stories. Well, let's leave it at that. And there's of course the whole dating sim part, which uh, so I did some testing, like I did some dabbling with Kaiho assets, how to work with Tirana Builder. I bought this some years ago when I was like, yeah, yeah, bad it. Yeah, it's when you're reading kind of like book, but I think I don't think I don't know. Books are usually very fast paced compared to visual novels. It's like a simple thing can take many hours to tell, or an hour. I don't know about the classics in the genre, but yeah. But as I was saying, I bought Tyranno Builder on sale on Steam a few years ago. I dabbled it with a bit, but I didn't got into it that much. I think around that time I was getting into anime, which is kind of weird because I'm almost 30 now, and that was in 2016. So I got into anime when I was a bit older, so I'm a bit cynical to some things. So in the end, I started working on some project. One thing I like about Tirana Builder is that it's visual programming, so it's easier for me to compose things like this part plays music, this stops the music, this plays the sound effects. I waited to end before the text book, more text comes, and such. And on this project, I got the idea that if a person befriends someone on the internet and then the friendship deepens and other person asks, do you want to visit my country? So I was like, what if a person befriends someone from Finland and the Finnish person invites the other person to the Finland? So what would he expect from this trip? And I was like, sauna. Sauna. That's a very interesting experience, I bet, for many people in different countries, especially when we Finns are not so ashamed about being naked. So the premise of the story is that an American guy comes to Finland around Christmas time, and well, I had actually many different scenarios worked out of this if I ever make this a full visual novel, but this is just a demo of that sauna scene. So, as you can see, Tyranno Builder is a visual novel engine, but I went with sound novel template, which is bit different from visual novel, which looks like this. Yeah, I was like, I obviously can't draw things myself, but I can manipulate images. So I pretty much asked my dad to take a picture of our free time cabin sauna. And then I was like, I I tune up the color balance and reduce the amount of colors so I get something more interesting to look at. And when I was last time at home, I recorded some sound effects. So yeah, technically I'm done with the story part of this demo, but I have to get some pictures and probably record more sound effects because I don't find anything satisfying on the free free sound effect sites and such. So I split this scene in different scenes. So, for example, at this stage, there's multiple people in the sauna. Of course, I didn't get all the sound effects I wanted, but luckily I find something else. Yeah, I actually recorded those very sound effects myself. It was quite annoying when my sister was throwing the water and it splashed on me, and I was like, oh my god. So, yeah. I hope I can get this done someday and publish it on Itch.io. But as we can see, Tyranno Builder has a visual novel and sound novel template. I went with this project Suomi Adventure. I went with sound novel because I think that's probably more interesting because, and of course, I can't do any characters standing there, so I can do like this. And of course, Tyranno Builder has a different templates like more classical Japanese portrait vertical text and horizontal text. There's this other project that I started recently. I call it Inho, which I do it in portrait mode. And Tyranno Builder can compile the games in browser form like with similar to the Kaiho format, which is embedded Windows application, Mac application, and iOS, Android. So I was thinking if I do a little test project and try it on my phone, how it would look. Because I talked with one acquaintance I made during the Adventure X jam that she was like, people she tested those games were preferred to read on the phone in a portrait mode. I was like, sound novel in a portrait mode on a phone. It's an interesting idea. I'll try it. But this project is more about mental health. Inspired by my own experiences, short stories. But in general, I'm like, I think for now I'll do these short stories in some form before I tackle anything big. And I guess in a visual novel form, the short story format would probably work better than huge multi-branching visual novels, which I think would be very tiring to read. At least in this case, I'll try the phone template first. And I'll try to take similar type of pictures for the visuals for this. But yeah. Any questions? Because I'm done for now. I have much anything else to be said right now, so I think this went well for me, so yeah, I think I end now, so thanks for joining everyone. I'll post the VOD of this stream on a other channel, YouTube channel that I have, JH Readlake. And I'll share this on Twitter. That on Twitter it's done, so thanks for listening my rambles and have a nice day or evening. Bye.